Hey everyone, it's Aliah Henry, and you're listening to The Aliah Henry Show. Expect to hear insightful interviews and panel discussions covering community, entrepreneurship, health, and women's empowerment. Don't miss out. Keep listening. The Aliah Henry Show is up next. Jasmin Brand is a DFW trailblazer. From media and marketing to startups and technology, she is a multiple leadership award winner and a strong advocate for women entrepreneurs. Today, I'm sitting down with her to chat about her amazing journey. Don't go anywhere. The Aliah Henry Show is up next. Well, Jasmin, I am super excited to have you in the studio today, so thank you.
Thank you for having me.
No, we met some years ago, and I don't even want to date ourselves, but it's been exciting for me to watch your journey and just see all the amazing things that you've done in Dallas. So I'm excited to have you here to talk about your professional journey.
Thank you.
And talk a little bit about your professional work experience and how it's developed you to where you are today.
You know, my professional work experience has been so diverse, and it's been, I would say, amazing and a hot mess at the same time. And I would just say this because I started my own company, and then I was laid off, and that's how I started my own company. And then I got a huge project, and then I decided I really wanted to have a big agency. I thought when I was 25. And then I got one of the biggest projects in my life. It was when the mayor's conference came here, and we did all the creative. And I was like, I really don't want to have a big agency. So I kind of went back in my little introverted hole, which people never believe that I'm an introvert, but I am.
And it's interesting, when you and I first met, I would have never plugged you at that until after we started getting to know each other a little bit better, and then we were having those conversations. Yes. And I was like, oh, wow. But it's interesting because a lot of times when you're upfront, close and personal with people, talkative, obviously you're a creative. And so sometimes when you're creative, it makes you step out of your comfort zone. And then people just assume that you're very, extroverted. And sometimes it's not always that way.
I think because I'm loud too.
But you're a good loud.
I'm loud for like 2 hours. And then I go back to like my very quiet space. But I have had so much success as a business owner, and then I've also had a lot of success in the corporate realm too. And so I think the biggest kind of takeaway I've learned is that I've seen kind of both failures and wins. And so I've had it from a corporate perspective. When I call it a layoff. Other people said I was fired. It depends on who you're talking to.
It depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah, and then with business too, I've lost a ton of money. I've had really great employees. I've had not so great employees. I've also too tried to figure out how to have a balance with all that. So I think my biggest kind of lessons or anything learned from just the professional workspace has been kind of roll with the punches, and then also too, you're gonna have some failures and some wins too. So
one of the good things about failures is it allows us to take a step back and look at what we want to recreate. Yes. And so I always think about when someone's like, oh my God, it was just that project, it just failed. And I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean it's okay? It's not okay. And I'm like, well, that's where you really figure it out. Like you take it back to the drawing table and you scratch and start again. And so one of the things I love any failure, because it does allow you to just get back. If you're always having success, then you're just on this gerbil wheel of doing everything right, but you don't necessarily get a chance to keep making it perfect or grow or take something apart and that kind of thing. So failures are good.
For sure. And I always think of it as kind of like a relationship too. You're not going to always be in love all the time. In fact, to me, if we're in lovey-dovey all the time, I'm waiting, like, okay, when's it coming out? Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Exactly. And for me, like, I just try to stay very steady. Now, when I was younger, I was a hothead for sure. I was very cocky and would get very upset when things didn't go wrong. And then I was also partying when things went right. And now for me, I don't get too excited. I also don't get too upset, because I know on the journey of being an entrepreneur, you're gonna have both. So when I have a really great moment, I know that I'm gonna have a low moment too. So I just try to stay in the middle.
Okay, that's good. So talk about some of the tips that you could offer to our future leaders. And they've got some heavy shoes to fill as it relates to the technology space, the creative space, because I have seen your generation really just...
Girl, we're in the same generation.
We're in the same generation, but I came in it late.
Okay.
I really did.
Okay.
I really did. I really came. I wish I would have come out earlier in the game, because I would have been fierce. Like I'm just getting started with this thing. Yes. But talk about some of the lessons that you would offer someone new coming into the field as an entrepreneur, as a creator, as a social innovator.
You know, I think one of the kind of biggest lessons, or one of the tips I would say, is you have to work. And I think with Instagram, with social media, it looks like everything's happening really fast. Yeah. And the other big lesson too is not only do I have to put time into work, but I have to give myself time for things to actually marinate and cook. And so I used to have this thing when I'm comparing myself. I should have been married by now. I should have like this corner office. And I've had a lot of amazing successes, but it's based on my own timing. And so I think a lot of times creatives, and especially young entrepreneurs, you're expected to, like, the title CEO means something. And so don't just put it so quickly. Like, I actually don't like to tell people I'm CEO, because people ask me for money usually when I say I'm a CEO. So I'm not, for one of the things, it's like give yourself time to grow into it, and give yourself time to make mistakes and actually find success in your own time. And I think also too, consistency. So sometimes when we think about building a digital platform, we think it's supposed to happen in 90 days or 6 months. It's a ride. You've got to you've got to get ready and ride it, and you also got to be consistent with it too. So if you want to build a kind of a brand with your digital platform, you have to be willing to put in the work. And it's like a plant, you've got to actually water and nurture it. You can't just post once a week and expect to get, all this amazing stuff that happens from it.
It's amazing how sometimes people will say, oh my goodness, like, your brand is out here, or your brand is out here. And it just happened overnight, and people don't really realize, like, it's been a good 5-6 years, like to even get it out there and to start it. And so that's really great advice, because I do think that young people today just think everything needs to happen really fast, or that there is just some magic step ladder, because there really isn't. You do have to work. I talk a little bit about nurturing that networking space, because I think that also is a key denominator with all of this as well.
I don't do things for likes. I did in the beginning, because that was kind of what I thought would lead to what I wanted to. But for me, I am so adamant about doing something for other people. Like, my career has been built on helping other people, which sounds so cheesy, but if I go into a networking event knowing that I'm going to actually ask someone else first what they need, as opposed to telling them and giving my business card and my spiel, that most people are not asked. So when someone actually asks me, Jasmin, how are you? Or can I help you out? It happens so rare. I'm just like, who is this? I'm like, wow, okay, because people don't ask me that. So I think that's one way to really stand out and to really nurture your network, is to actually care about your connections, not just care about building them, but actually care about who the other person is and what do they have going on too, and how you can help them out too.
Yeah, that's good. So talk a little bit about The Start, and you are the founder and of that organization. Talk a little bit about what you're doing.
So I've had a digital marketing agency for the last 11 years. I was in corporate, and then I was laid off. The Start's had a couple makeovers. I had my name in it at first, and my dad was like, you have to have our name in your company. I was like, okay, Dad. So it was Brand Point at first, and I was like, okay, this is...
That was back when we...
That was old school,
when we first met.
It was, and so... I have dabbled in startup space. So I was doing a lot of events and content, and then I kind of dabbled in the startup space and was running a local publication here. And then I kind of wanted to do something different. I go, what am I wanting to do with my career at this point? I was like, Mom, what should I do? She's like, now you want to ask me for advice. I was like, okay. But she was like, well, just start. She goes, just do something. I was like, hey, okay, I like it. And I was like, that's kind of what I want to help other people do, is just start too. So that's super simple, but that's kind of how it came to be. So we do really cool content and really fun events.
I love it. In a simple way. That's great. And it's interesting, because now everybody wants an event, wants to go to an event.
Oh my gosh.
And they're almost having to be kind of competitive. I mean, because you've got to figure out how you're going to get them there. What gets them in the door? What's the best content? You know, is it a women's summit? Is it a, you know, goal setting thing, or is it just a networking? How do you work with clients to figure out what's the best type of event to have?
You know, I think I always try to make sure that what message or what outward kind of facing message that the client is doing, is that what they actually want? So a lot of times we will say, I want to host an event for business women, but I go back and look at their kind of branding and their messaging. I'm like, is that really what you want to target, or you actually want to target mothers? You know, so I think being very specific about what your end goal is, but also too, whoever's leading it actually has to have some skin in the game too. You can't host an event for women's empowerment and then not do something for women's empowerment. So I think actually being involved where you're wanting to be, and actually being connected to the audience that you're looking to engage with. This happens a lot of times when we're trying to get diverse millennials, you're trying to get Black founders or women founders, and the organization has no women or women of color on their leadership. That's a huge disconnect, and that kind of stuff resonates in your social media, it resonates in your messaging, and then when you go to the event too, there's a disconnect too. Like your offline brand should really match your online brand, and typically what I see is you'll go to a really bad, cool event, and then a really amazing event, and then you go on the social, you're like, this doesn't have the same warmth. Or you get on social media, you're tweeting with someone, and then you go to the party or the event, you're like, it's like when you are on Match. And you haven't been on there a while, but like you'll talk to someone, you're like, okay, he's cool, this is great. Right. And then you meet, he's sitting there quiet the whole time at the coffee shop. I'm like, what happened to the person with the jokes on Twitter? Like that. Right. So it's the same thing. So if you could build this kind of bridge between your online and offline, I think that's like one of the first layers. And then actually have some skin in the game with the audience that you're looking to kind of attract.
Love it. Love it. Great advice. Great advice. So is there any one nonprofit or a cause that touches your heart? What are you passionate about?
I have two. I mean, I've served on so many boards, and women and girls are always going to be my biggies. And so right now I'm co-chairing the Mentors and Allies Luncheon for Wings. And they're a really great organization. Their mission is they believe if you empower women and you get rid of poverty, you can impact a generation. So they do courses, they do training. And so I really love this idea of women, we have everything we need to be successful. We just need some assistance with it. So we've already got a voice. We've already got everything we need. We just need kind of a tribe of women to kind of help us. So Wings is really cool. And then Perscalis is an amazing org. And I love them because when I was in the startup space, I realized there was just a lack of women and then just lack of people of color. And it's usually access to technology that makes you not able to get a technology job. So what they do is provide free no-cost training, IT training, and they also do job placement support, which is amazing. And it's all free, which is really cool.
Well, and I love Perscalis because I actually was on their inaugural advisory board when they first came to Dallas. So
no way.
Yes, I was.
That is so cool.
And
they have grown.
They have grown, and it's amazing to see all of the things that they're doing. Certainly. So that's really great to know. But it's interesting because now that I'm thinking about both organizations, when I look at you, obviously they're a fit because they are truly things that you're passionate about.
Definitely, yes. Yeah. And it's really just providing access. So if we have an organization, I know my dad always used to tell me, I went to SMU and I was there on a scholarship, so I was really intimidated to go. And he was like, Jasmin, you're right, you don't have a car, and your shoes aren't cool. I was like, thanks, Dad. He said, but you work harder. He said, one thing they can't put is you have ideas. And I've always been a little girl that always could shoot out 50 million ideas. He goes, that is what he said, it doesn't matter. And I thought, well, I'm getting to meet all these amazing people at SMU. I got to study abroad. I was like, this is some of the connections I have today is because I went to that school, or I was in Leadership Dallas. But Leadership Dallas costs money. SMU is very expensive. It's like, how can we provide access so that we know there's very talented women and we know there's very talented people of color, but they don't have access to it. So I think that's part of our jobs as kind of leaders in the community to kind of build that bridge.
That's good. That's good. Well, I'm so excited about the rebrand and just the new oomph of the company.
I'm excited too.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
Yeah.
So you are that young woman on the go.
I like that young. All right.
All right. So talk about how you keep everything balanced. And I know it's difficult.
Yeah.
And some people say, well, there's no balance, but share how do you make it so that it's not all about the work?
It is. So I have, but
that's
there it is.
hilarious.
Like, there's no balance at all either. But this is also too why I'm probably still single too, because I haven't made time. So I have really great girlfriends that will basically stalk me on social and say, I'm coming over if you don't respond. So having amazing women who actually have like balanced lives. I learn from them. They have children. They've actually got. I mean, they have food in the refrigerator. I do too sometimes, but they.
Well, I will tell you, I remember when I first moved to Dallas, I had always a couple of bottles of wine.
That's it.
Tortilla chips and salsa.
Okay, I do have salsa. Cheese. I have cheese.
I mean,
and some sushi.
And my dad would come and he'd be like, we have to go grocery shopping again, and I'm like, well,
because it goes bad if it's just you.
It's cool. I eat out a lot.
Me too. So, yeah, I know. But then when I got my Uber Diamond status, I was like, there's a problem.
Ooh.
No, that's
really cool.
No, it's from Uber Eats. Oh, wait, that's not good. That's not good when they send you that. That's
well, anytime you want to come over and help me meal prep.
Oh, that'd be fun.
For the week,
I love that.
You're more than welcome.
But so the volunteering is one way, right? So I'm like, if I'm already networking, I should be doing something I love. So volunteering is really fun. Okay. And then I also host a lot of events, networking events for women. And I do that selfishly because that's a great way for me to meet women. And so I've hosted women's events for the last 7 to 8 years, and a lot of those women I'm still friends with. I actually just posted something on social because I got one of those little reminders of this. We did a tea party at the Jewel, and I saw the women in there, and I was like, some are moms now, one has started a business, and I was like, oh my gosh, how much we've grown in 5 years, and we're like, we should do this tea party again. But that came from just us naturally networking. And then I saw them saying, oh, we met at Jasmin's Tea. I was like, you did? I thought you guys were friends before. That kind of stuff fills me with joy. And that's kind of like a cheat, right? So it's a lot of these people are maybe women that I do business with, but then we also are having fun too. So I'm a work in progress. I think balance, to me, it changes based on your life. If I meet an amazing man, I'm probably gonna be in Paris tomorrow. Like, just keep it real.
Wait, we're gonna push you to get on that plane.
We're gonna have the start a French version of the start, okay?
Oh my goodness. So talk about, is there any type of thing that you love to do self-care wise? Mm-hmm.
I love spas. Okay. And my mom and I actually love to go there. We also like to watch old movies too. Okay. We have a favorite called Working Girl. I don't know if you've seen it. It's got Melanie Griffith.
Oh, okay. Yes, I know.
She made me watch it when I was like 9. But she believes it's like the best moral because she was a secretary and she had to work her way up, and sometimes you have to bend the rules a little bit to get there. And then once you get there, how do you treat women? So it's such a good movie. And I love live music. I went to Booker T. Okay. So I go to shows all the time. I go to plays. So
I went to one of their events. The Flying Horse.
Oh yeah, such a great,
my goodness, amazing.
So talented. I know, such great. So I go to shows and stuff all the time. So yeah, that's probably my self-care.
That's good though. Yeah, that's good. That's a good balance.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, good.
So, what insight would you leave with our audience about living their best life?
I think your best life evolves and changes. Like I said earlier, I had these expectations at my age. I thought I was going to be at a space. I feel like we talked about this a little bit earlier, where I'm just now getting started. And even from a love perspective too, like I am such a different woman than I was at 25. So thank God I didn't actually jump and leap. And I'm so glad that I had business failures and I had some clients that weren't that great, because it's made me someone who's very shrewd. I know all of my contracts. I'm very particular about everything now. And before I was very kind of lackadaisical and scared to speak up. So my best life is empowering myself to kind of go after my dreams. I also too, like, I've kind of played it safe, which people wouldn't think that. It's like, Jasmin, you're always starting stuff and doing things. I said, but
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, but no, I do, but like, I've also still been kind of quiet. Like, if you notice, like, I just put out my own website not that long ago. It's like a hairstylist whose hair is never done. Like, I'm always very focused on other people, but I had a really good friend. He was like, when are you going to put this website up? And I kept putting off just being a perfectionist. He goes, you should be doing these things you're helping other people do, like speaking. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I just never really thought about that. And I think part of me was almost kind of afraid of, what if it does go really, really great? So I think your best life should be an evolution. I think it's sometimes not going to be your best life, but you should be on the road to doing it too. And I think it's actually listening to what would you do if there was really no kind of fear and you didn't have to worry about money or anything. And for me, me running an organization, a large organization for women, specifically Texas women, is kind of like my big dream. And so that's kind of, for me, I was like, I should just keep working with women in Dallas. I was like, no, why wouldn't I think a little bigger? So I think best life is thinking really big, but giving yourself the time to get there.
Awesome. Well, that is great. I'm excited to have you here and just kind of chat a little bit about you and what's going on. And I'm just excited to see what's next. And as you continue to grow and shine in DFW. Hopefully, you could say DFW in London.
Yes. London, Paris, yes, that'd be great. I'll send you the invite, the wedding invite. Yes. Actually, it'll be on the news if that happens.
What you say, it'll be on the news?
Yeah.
Hey, it's all good.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to the Aliah Henry Show. Remember, be bold enough to use your voice, brave enough to listen to your heart, and strong enough to live the life you've always imagined. See you next time.